Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson, and this is your wake-up call.
When a brown girl child is born, the earth shifts. The sun is at half-mast. The moon waits for her first cry. The ancestors set the table. The flowers turn red as blood. This is your land, continent daughter, with tree trunk legs and branches.
Wake up, Detroit. I'm Joanne Watson. This is your wake-up call, and it's a wonderful day to give rise to prayer. This is the World Day of Prayer, and we come this morning to acknowledge the power that has created all of us. Hallelujah. We give God all the praise. Only God is worthy to be praised. I don't know about you. I can't let one day go by without praising his name. We praise God on this day for the presence and the significant participation of one we esteem highly, and that is Dr. Claude Anderson. That's Dr. Claude Anderson, Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, and a brand new book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Let's say a special good morning and greetings to Dr. Claude Anderson.
Good morning, Joanne, one of the strongest black conscious women in this world.
Bless your heart.
How are you doing?
I'm excellent. I'm better now, and we can't wait until Dr. Claude Anderson comes to Detroit as a special keynote speaker. Wayne County Community College District, the significant leader of Wayne County Community College District, is going to bring forth the leadership of Dr. Claude Anderson, and we're so happy about it. Next Thursday, a week from today at 11 a.m. And we're so grateful for Dr. Ivory bringing and hosting Dr. Claude Anderson in a wonderful session that will take a 50-year look at the rebellion and 50-year anniversary of Wayne County Community College. It's going to be a very special conversation. And, of course, we all know Dr. Claude Anderson, that there is no foremost expert higher than he is on economics for our people for such a time as this. So tell us some good news about your book. Then we want to talk about why it's important that we focus on economics as black folks in America. And if you give us an update on your wonderful lawsuit, we'd love to know about that too, Claude.
Thank you very much, Joe. Well, the new book was written specifically for our people at this moment because right now we're in a world of trouble. And this book is designed to try to cover all these major issues that you hear every day on various television programs and radio stations, and you read about in the newspaper. Again, those questions that black folk never ask. And if our black people do not understand the answers that are provided in this question, start taking immediate action, Joe. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you fine. And I'm looking at your book right now. It's wonderful.
Okay, I'm getting a little feedback on my end, but that's okay as long as you can hear me. But right now, the book starts by letting black folk know that they are in a world of trouble. We're locked into a social construct that has never been addressed in this country. It is almost humanly impossible in theory and practice for black folk to ever be a competitive people, not alone in Detroit, but in this nation, if they do not go back and deal with the social construct that we got locked into. That social construct was put in place in the United States Constitution in 1789. And where it defined black folk. That has never been addressed. We were defined as being 3/5 of a human being, as being property, as equal to a field animal. That is tremendously important, and that construct has been carried out and implemented by all the major corporations in this country, and it's been backed up by the United States Supreme Court, which is one of the most racist organizations in this country. Its primary purpose is to keep black folk locked in box and use authority that they were never given in the Constitution. The Constitution was initially defined black folk and made in the U.S. And what's happened since they defined black folk is that the Supreme Court is the guardian. That's why the first 57 Supreme Court justices in this country were white slave owners, and another 60 since then has been white racists. We've only had about one black man of any consequence on the United States Supreme Court. That is a social construct. This book, Black Labor, and White Wealth, started giving you the definition of the problem. But this last book, number 5, called A Black History Reader, tells you exactly how, and walks you through everything that shows you exactly how we're locked in box. And why, if we don't do something soon, we're not going to be able to make it. It talks about terrorism, who were the first original terrorists in this country. They are still in this country acting as terrorists. It explains all that and why we're in danger. And it tells you also, we hear all these conversations, Joe, about the Second Amendment, about gun rights. It tells you and explains to you that the Second Amendment was put in place to specifically control blacks and monitor blacks, and to make sure that they did not do anything that was offensive to the businesses in this country and to white plantation owners. That was the Second Amendment. It's called the Gun Rights Law. The Gun Rights Law specifically said that every white male between the ages of 18 and 45 were obligated to carry a gun and join a militia. That's why it's still on the records. That's why out of 365 million rifles and guns in this country, whites own 99% of them, 99% of the manufacturers, 99% of all the rifle ranges, and yet they always talk about removing guns out of black neighborhoods. The Second Amendment, the Gun Rights Law, is an application of power between whites and the control of blacks in the country. All this stuff is explained, and black folks need to understand it. They need to understand who the original terrorists were. Then they understand the social construct, the Second Amendment, and the last thing, right quick, and just giving it, is as a very comprehensive analysis to show you that even though you never hear any blacks speak up in this country, that immigration laws were put in effect 1 year after the Constitution was ratified in 1790, which set up what they call the American Dream. The American Dream means whites, anybody classified as whites, Joe, can come to this country and get free land and free Indian land and free black labor. That is the American Dream. And you hear every politician talking about our values and our American Dream. That has nothing to do with black folks. That was strictly for immigrants. That's why right now in the debate about immigrants right now is going on when you got 14 million illegal immigrants right now in the country. And Obama called them to enacted something called the DREAM Act. That DREAM Act has nothing to do with black folk. Black folk do not understand these questions. That's why I said they don't understand that for every positive action in social economics and in physics, for every action there must be an equal and opposite reaction. Nobody's raising Cain about who's going to be negatively impacted about immigration laws in this country. The only group that's impacted negatively is black people. And this black folks be raising Cain that says we're not going to permit and allow any more immigrants coming in this country. I don't care what the Constitution is, it locks us, or the United States Congress says that they're going to legalize all these people. They must say this.
Now, Dr. Claude Anderson, what will it take for black people in this country to recognize that they can't sit idly by and be silent while they're being terrorized economically and legally?
Right. What they need to do is get all of our civil rights leaders and all of our elected officials to understand the reality and quit dreaming. Get away from the dream and understand that they must start to hit the streets this time and marching for purpose. Do not march anything if you can't define the purpose. The purpose must be right now to say this country, we want, if you're going to continue to bring in immigrants, we must put black folk into a protected class, just as they were put into a protected class in the Freedmen's Bureau back in 1866. You must demand they be put in the protected class. You must also begin to ask all of our leaders and our civil rights leaders to focus on the fact that black people are exceptional people. They should never be put in these very broad, ambiguous categories called minorities, poor folk, people of color, diversity, and multicultural.
Now, when you think about the historical vestiges of institutional racism in America, it is clear that many black people have gone to sleep. They don't have the cutting-edge mentality to stand up and fight against injustice because, as Frederick Douglass says, that power can see nothing without a demand and never has and it never will. You have to fight for your rights. It's not going to just be handed down to you.
Well, you're absolutely right, Joe. And see, and black folks to understand what racism is and fighting, they must understand, again, the social construct. Slavery, 360 years of slavery and another 100 years of Jim Crow segregation did not just simply deprive black folk of the fruits of their labor. It also deprived them of a key element, Joe, which would make them effective and to be able to make some sense out of politics in this country. That is to deprive black people of their social cohesiveness. That is tremendously important. That's what slavery did. Secondly, they must understand the nature of the problem. The problem in America is that slavery intentionally maldistributed almost 100% of all this nation's land, resource, business, power, income, privileges and rights into the hands of the dominant white society. That is what white supremacy is. The blacks need to quit talking about white supremacy and understand it. All white supremacy is and all racism is a total maldistribution of all the resources in the country into the hands of whites and locking it in and using the United States Constitution to make sure black folk never get any benefits.
Now, speaking of resources, I know that where you stand on reparations, but let's hear a wake-up call for black folks on reparations.
Well, on reparations, I'm going to need them, Joe, and I'm going to need you to get as much notice to our people in Detroit as you can get or around the world. Right now, I'm due in court for my lawsuit. Right now, I'm creeping forward and making the progress here and there, a little bit of progress. As you know, I've spent 37 years, almost 40 years, fighting for the rights of black folk in reparations, in court suits. That's in the federal courts, in the small claims court, in the Sixth Circuit Court, and even the appeals to the United States Supreme Court. But now I got them where we're at a pivotal point. This is extremely important, Joe. You got to get out the word. Tell every black in America that they should be on November 17th in the U.S. Appeal Court in Washington, D.C. We got an oral hearing there on reparations for black folk, and for black folk in general, and more specifically, it's for the black freedmen and black Indians, and the tip of the spear that's driving my lawsuits is Leatrice Brown's family. That family that's white. Her daddy her granddaddy was a black Indian, and he had a lot of land, and they took the land from it. An oil company took it from him, and they become rich off the land. But my lawsuit says now that we're gonna have an oral arguments and debates over this in the courts now. But the first time they let me into the United States Appeal Court in Washington D.C., we're gonna be debating this before judges. And if I win this lawsuit now, the door for black folk reparation in this country is wide open. And I got all these things that black folk can get out of reparations.
So
and,
November 17th, we need to show up.
Yeah, November the 17th, Joe. And November 17th in the United States Appeals Court in Washington, D.C. It's on 300, I think the address is 300 Constitutional Avenue in the Appeals Court. And I need as many blacks to fill that courtroom up, fill the whole building up, have so many blacks on the streets that now you can't even move the cars, won't even be moving in traffic out there.
You know, when you consider the truth about reparations, first of all, many people of African descent are walking around saying, don't nobody owe us nothing, because they don't understand who they are and the price that has been paid by ancestors. But when you consider the 246 of, well, really more than 300 years of free labor provided to this country by our ancestors who were kidnapped and at gunpoint and brought to this country for the specific purpose of building wealth for others while working under terrorist and inhumane conditions not fit for animals. When you consider that the profit of the slave trade contributed to the wealth of this nation. And
well, you're absolutely right. And see, and our people don't understand. And when they say they don't owe them anything, yes, they do owe them. They have a debt to those black people.
And other groups have gotten reparations. There's a whole list of them in the wonderful book edited by Dr. Ray Wimbush of Baltimore, Morgan State University, where we were in July, who has a list of all the other groups who have received reparations because they demanded it. A critical mass demanded it. So we need a critical mass of black people standing with Dr. Claude Anderson and the lawsuit he has filed on behalf of all of us. And this is not the first. There have been many lawsuits. This is another one. This one has a great chance of success. We need to be in that courtroom standing with and supporting Dr. Claude Anderson, who's invested time, talent, and money on our behalf to stand up for our ancestors and stand up for us.
Right, and tell them, Joe, that see, the issue that our people never seem to understand, it's not really a legal issue. It is a political issue.
That's right.
And because right now on the 18th, and what we're trying to do is enforce the 1866 Indian Treaty. It is the best model that I can think of in reparations. Most other reparations goals, they're forced into trying to define something that's inevitable and they cannot quite define it. It's ambiguous. And, because we all know that we've been oppressed.
But a treaty is a legal construct.
That's right. We talk. The legal keystroke is the 1866 Indian Treaty that all the so-called civilized tribes signed in 1866, and those treaties were signed by the United States government, which says that all black Indians, all black freemen, and the free blacks that were living in that time in 1866 are entitled to certain benefits. And because most people in this country don't understand that slavery never could have existed in this country without the complicity of all the Indian tribes. They were paid and rewarded to be able to enforce slavery, to chase black slaves down, bring them back to the master, and get paid $25 for every slave they brought back. And also, all those Indian tribes fought with the South during the Civil War to maintain slavery, and they lost. When they lost the war, then the government then forced them to say, you turn loose all your slaves that you're holding. At that particular time, 2 years, Joe, after the Civil War ended, the Choctaw and Chickasaw Indians were still holding 12,000, 16,000 blacks in enslavement. And so when they signed those treaties, they had to turn them loose, and here's what they should have given those black folk, because they were mandated that they treat black people just like, and black freemen just like American Indians, which means that the government gave all those tribes $150 for every slave. They supposed to give them that $150 to every black slave. They supposed to set those blacks free. They must have given those blacks membership options into any of those tribes they wanted. They should have given them free land, 150 acres of free land. They should have given them access to any schools that were set up for Indians, because Indians were forced to go to school while blacks were being denied. They also should have been tax exempt. Blacks should not be paying any taxes. They should have also had access to any resources on those reservations up to the present time, whether it was gold, silver, chrome, bauxite, timber. And lastly, they should have been able to also contract directly with the government without competitive bidding to get anything from the government. And lastly, they should be federalized. They can go on those reservations, and black folks should be able to build gambling casinos just like these so-called Indians. That's what I'm fighting for, all these benefits. I'm not fighting to get the honor of putting a feather in your head or walking around with a blanket around you. This is for benefits, resources. That's what it's about. That's why my whole movement has always never been for rights. It's for resources. Blacks must understand it's more important to get resources than rights. If you got the resources, you can make the rights.
Now, Dr. Claude Anderson is going to be a guest a week from today at 11 a.m. at the Wayne County Community College District in downtown Detroit, 801 West 4th Street. We want to thank in a very special way Dr. Curtis L. Ivory, who was the chancellor of Wayne County Community College District, for hosting and bringing in Dr. Claude Anderson, the foremost authority on economic empowerment, economic recovery, and economic restoration for black folk in America. And we need to own and not just consume. A whole lot of agencies, corporations, are already getting their budgets ready to make a lot of money off black folks during this holiday season that's coming up, Dr. Anderson. We need to help our people recognize there is nothing to be gained from just patronizing and being consumers. We need to own.
Right. It's what you own and control that determines your rights and privileges in America. I'm going to say it to you again. It is what black folk own and control that determines their rights and their opportunities. It is not what some political person might say, well, you got a right to go down to the Ritz-Carlton, get one of those $3,000 room nights and eat lobsters all day long. But if you don't have the resources, you have no rights. And see, that's what it was all about when you came to the forefront back about 15 years ago, Joe, and talking about developing business districts and things in Detroit for black folk. And the racists came out of the woods. And it brought forth all the various ethnic groups in around that area to come down and protest and contest against black folk having a business district in Detroit.
But I want you to know, Claude, now the wholesale district that you correctly articulated we ought to support never happened, but the retail district did happen. I had dinner there last night. There's a black-owned restaurant. I mean, it's really black-owned. The owner is from Nigeria, Kenny Akinwele. So his family put their pension funds together and opened this black Detroit seafood restaurant market downtown Detroit. Right next to it is the Virgil Carr Center. That's a beautiful building that is the cornerstone for the Michigan Council for the Arts, controlled by our people. Across the street, Michigan Chronicle. And right in the center of that district is a beautiful park with marble stones lifting up the legacy of the Honorable Coleman Alexander Young and people like the Honorable Ermel Henderson and others that not only do we know, but you know because you were educated at Wayne State University and you have family members right here in Detroit.
That's right, and they should be supporting whatever district they have down there, whatever black businesses they have. Black folk have to. They have to, Joe. There's no.
Yeah, we call it the Paradise Valley District. When Barbara Rose Collins and I sent forth the request to HUD for our own public funds, because it's our money that the federal government holds. Michigan is 39th among the 50 states in getting our dollars back. So we were requesting our own money for this retail district. They said they thought the term, quote, African town was divisive. So we said we call it Paradise Valley because black folks understand the historical legacy of the Paradise Valley Entertainment District, where black people own hotels and pharmacies and print shops and florist companies and had our own. So we want to remind our people that we do have our own. And you taught me with our good friend Alderman Dorothy Tillman from Chicago how to mark the district by putting street signs. So we have a sign down there recognizing reparations Ray Jenkins. His name is up as a street sign. Harold McKinney, jazz master, and Nana Kwame Addo, who was one of the leaders of the Pan-African movement. So those street signs are down there now, just in case people don't know where our district is downtown. Look at the street signs and find the names of black folks.
Well, see, Joe, and that's part of the problem. See, how people are totally, I guess, blissfully ignorant of what's necessary. They in any out group, and black people are an out group in America. You must learn in an out group that the best way to acquire power is to come together as a group and pool your resources, your body, your money, and everything, and be a competitive group. Everybody's been doing that except black folk. That's why in any place in America, I can find Chinatowns, French towns, German towns, Polish towns, Cork towns, Greek towns, Mexican towns, Italian towns, but you can never find anything black because black folk have been taught to integrate. They don't understand the importance of spending their money with their own people and revolving it in the community. Hispanics, right, is an example. Hispanics' money bounces 6 to 7 times before it leaves a Mexican town or a Mexican business or Mexican community. White money bounces 8 to 12 times. Arab and Asian money bounces 13 to 14 times. Jewish money bounces 18 times. Black money does not bounce once, because as soon as we get paid, we feel some kind of a moral obligation to go spend our money with people that are totally in opposition and in competition with us. Black folks do not understand the critical importance of practicing group economics and group politics to be able to survive. They don't understand at this point in time in this country, black people are now the official underclass. In Detroit, you are an official underclass. And underclass, by definition, Joe, are those people who are predestined to live for the rest of their existence as either beggars or criminals. So let them keep spending their money and empowering the people that are in opposition to them. But they are now an official underclass. In the book now, the new book called The Black History Reader, it tells you that. It shows you in graphic terms how every group in this country is over black folk in terms of wealth, power, resources, and educational achievement. We're on the bottom of the barrel, and that is by law and fixed public policies in this country. It's not an accident you're on the bottom, but they need to get that book. Go to the Powernomics.com website and start buying that new book called The Black History Reader, and start reading it and understanding and come together and practicing group politics and group economics in Detroit, or otherwise they are going to live for the rest of their lives as an underclass of beggars and criminals, always begging for something and never having sufficient money. And they need to go down there and start spending their money in Paradise Valley, and they need to start practicing what we call cost-benefit analysis.
That's right.
Which means that even though you might spend a little more money down in Paradise Valley, and you don't get exactly what you want every time, still spend your money with your own people first, and then empower them so they can increase their power in their business, bring in better quality products, and quit giving your money to other groups. Right now in Detroit, Michigan, black folks spend $11. Out of every dollar they spend, again, they spend $11 into the white community and Asian or Greek communities, and try to keep $1 in their own community. They spend 90% of all their money outside their own communities.
And that's madness, lunacy. We need to buy from ourselves, support ourselves, patronize ourselves, go into business for ourselves, and consciously redistribute our resources among our people. That is sanity. That is sanity.
It's suicidal, Joe. It's a form of suicide.
And we must stand and right now reclaim our legacy, because we've come from a people who stood and fought. We are here because somebody resisted terrorism during their day so that we could be here to fight for our children. We need to pass along something more than poverty to the next generation.
Well, you indicated a few minutes ago that about Paradise Valley. And see, here's another cardinal rule in economics. See, all these other groups are boycotting you. They're boycotting your business. They use it to say it by corrupting the whole concept of equality and equal opportunity. They corrupt it against black folks. That they do not. You've never in your lifetime ever seen a white person on a Saturday morning get in his car, drive down to Paradise Valley to a black community, go into a black store and buy a black produced product. They boycott you. The Asians, the Arabs, the Hispanics, and the whites boycott black businesses, while black folks foolishly commit suicide. And every time they get a paid penny in their pocket, they run out and give it to those groups who are competing against them. And see, and that is asininely stupid. What you need to do is learn how to practice economics and spend your money with your own people.
That's right.
And make it revolve around in your stores at least 10 to 12 times before it leaves.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And when you do that, then you create employment for your own community, your own family members. You create a revenue base that can sustain your community, and you create a legacy. You have something to pass down to your descendants.
Well, unfortunately, again, our social organizations and institutions keep telling blacks just the opposite, Joe. They keep telling black folk what we're going to do is prepare you as soon as you go to school and get an education, then come home and dress yourself up. Then go out to a white community to look for a job in their neighborhood. They only preparing our kids to go look for jobs. They never follow the Joanne Watson philosophy, which says quit training and educating and misorienting and misdirecting our kids. They go out and look for jobs and start teaching them and raising them and encourage them to stay in their own communities and produce jobs. Don't
That's
look
right.
for jobs.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly why we're able to come to you right now, a black-owned media outlet owned by a black man named R.J. Watkins, with engineering being done by his son, Sean Watkins. Come on now. When you have ownership, you have control, you have governance. Dr. Claude Anderson, he publishes his books, Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, and this newest book, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. He doesn't go to a white publisher to publish his books. He publishes them himself. That's business, like our brother Hakeem Matabuti in Chicago, who's from Detroit. He publishes his own books. We need to own and control our destiny and also our economy. We can do that by owning, not just patronizing somebody else.
Right, and I've been blessed, Joe, in that regard, because my books are published strictly vertically. Everything is written, done inside my own house, and I've been blessed in the sense that my books, Black History Reader, which is out now, selling on the market. But before that, the earlier 4 books, Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics, 2 Dirty Little Secrets books. They've all been bestsellers across America and around the world. My books right now outsell any black books that have ever been produced in this country.
What you say?
They go all around the world. And they all focus strictly and solely on correcting the misconceptions and misdirecting of black folk and the socially engineering black folk into a subclass or a poor, impoverished people. And people used to tell me, well, Dr. Evans, nobody's going to buy those books. My books right now in constant demand around the world. That's why Ebony and Jet calls the Black Labor, White Wealth the second Bible for black folk. They read it.
That's right.
And so you can stand up and say, hey, and I got right now. That's why Lauryn Hill and Nas and David Chappelle right now doing a national and international tour on Powernomics, Joe.
I love it.
They're going in cities all across America. Then they're going into the Caribbean. They're going through Europe and through Asia, saying every black person should go read those Powernomics books and understand them and start practicing group economics and group politics.
Well, I certainly want to applaud Lauryn Hill and Nas and that group of Dave Chappelle for linking their arms and their message as they go around the world with their tour, linking with Powernomics, because they understand in the entertainment industry, like all the other industries in this country, if you don't own the product, if you don't control the economics of the product, as far as anybody else is concerned, you're still enslaved.
That's right, and that is the essence of racism. Racism is not some mystical term, nor is white supremacy a mystical term. When you break it down to the bottom line, it is that the intentional social engineering of blacks into a subclass, and then maldistributing, Joe, 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, land, privilege, and resources in the hands of white society. That's all that white supremacy is, and that's all what racism is. Until you correct that and redistribute those resources in the hands of black folk, you will always have white supremacy, because, in fact, they are supremacists if they control 99% of everything. And we have to learn how to redistribute the resources back into our own hands and be a competitive people, and that's what we're not doing any place in this country. And that's why I've been filing all these lawsuits. That's why we need all these people to show up. I want every black in Detroit to be in that courtroom on November the 17th at 9:30 right here in Washington, D.C.
We need to be there, and we also need to be at Wayne County Community College District next week, a week from today, at 11 a.m. in the main campus in the downtown meeting room, and enjoy the wonderful, wonderful leadership and the voice of Dr. Claude Anderson, who's going to be the keynote speaker, and a very special symposium really brought together to look at the 50-year history since the 67 rebellion in Detroit, and also the 50-year anniversary of Wayne County Community College District. And I don't believe it's a coincidence that those two events have the same anniversary, because there was a consortium of black men. I knew some of them, and some women who got together with a vision for Wayne County Community College District to provide an alternative for people in this community who needed higher education, who needed to have a foot in college, who needed to have special access and resources provided. And they were also educators who were connected with Upward Bound, Veterans Upward Bound, Higher Education Opportunities Commission. They could have just lived their own lives. Many of them were PhDs, but they put themselves into this project called bringing into fruition Wayne County Community College District. And now we have a chancellor, Dr. Curtis L. Ivory, who's been there 20 plus years of the 50-year history of Wayne County Community College District to maintain this magnificent institution for our community, which is really impacting the whole state. And it's has 5 campuses and doing a magnificent job of maintaining opportunity and options for our people. So we thank God that Dr. Claude Anderson will be here a week from today at 11 a.m. in the downtown campus. It's free, open to the public. His latest book will be there for sale. We ought to come and show up in big numbers. And also, as he said, show up at that lawsuit at the courthouse, federal courthouse in D.C. on November 17th.
Joe, tell them also to get that book. They need to go to their website, because that's where they're going to be sold for the next 2 months. You can only get them through the website.
Now give the website address, Claude.
I'm sorry, what, Joe?
Give the website address.
Okay, the website is Powernomics, Powernomics.com, and they can order all the books. And right now they have a special with the new book. They can get all 4, and now to be 5 books. They can get all 5 of my books, which are classics. And in some instances, Amazon, third parties are selling Black Labor White Wealth for almost $800 per copy, and Powernomics for almost $1,000 per copy. But they can go get those books and get all 5 of my books now for $99, and plus there's a free DVD in there about how the appropriate way to educate black children. So they can get all 5 books and the free DVD in there for $99 by going to the Powernomics.com website and order those books. It is absolutely imperative that they start reading those books and understand them. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't have that much faith in all these other books I've seen on the market illustrating, talking about black folk, but talking about some black personality, what he did and get along. I don't push my own wagon to try to make that a model for black folk. I try to critically, Joe, to analyze all the key issues and historically that are offensive to black folk, critically understand them, and analyze them, then give blacks how-to, roadmaps, cookbooks, recipes to get out of it. So I'm not trying to push my image.
Yes,
That's why I
sir.
don't write books about myself, I don't know how, reading a book about Colin Powell's life or Bill Cosby, that does nothing to try to elevate blacks right now. We're in serious trouble, and we are a permanent underclass, and if we don't redistribute some of these resources pretty soon, we are through in this country. And so go to that website and order those books, and also do me a favor, Joe, and express my profound gratitude to Dr. Ivory. I appreciate his support, just like I appreciate yours, but I even love you more because I've been in love with you for 30 years. But tell them to get out there and understand and come out on next Thursday morning at 11 o'clock, and I'll be there to address the group. And we're talking about not only the rebellion in 1967, because I was a participant in that, but also all the issues that allowed me to be able to understand half of these issues, having served in all levels of government, in national, international politics, and in business, and being the highest and running a state educational system for Florida for 7 years. That's every level from the nursery school to the graduate schools in both the private and public sector. I'm going to give you all of that. So tell them to come out next Thursday down to the campus at 11 o'clock. I'll be there, and turn out. Use any form of media. They can go to newspaper, radio, and TV, and tell every black body in the United States I need them at the courthouse to be able to say, we're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Oh, come on now.
Sick and tired.
Praise God. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sound like Fannie Lou Hamer. Come on now. We thank God for Dr. Claude Anderson, your leadership. Thank you for your fight. Thank you for your commitment to our people. Thank you for not being afraid to take a stand and having the courage to fight, and also for putting your own money in to a lawsuit.
Yeah, well, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and nobody's ever given me any money. I got the Powernomics. The Create the Harvest Institute, our black think tank. But blessedly, Lauren Hill and Niles on, for every city they go into, they're going to make a contribution of some funds back to the Harvest Institute to help me with these lawsuits.
Excellent.
That's just one lawsuit. I got about 5 lawsuits on the table to benefit black folk for things that they never thought about, that how the government and other people owe them money. And so you tell them we're going to play as a team.
All right.
Racism is a team sport. You either play as a team or you lose by default.
That's it. That's it. Dr. Claude Anderson, thank you so much for being a very special guest on Wake Up Detroit. We look forward to being with you next Thursday at 11 a.m. at Wayne County Community College District on 4th Street in downtown Detroit. And once again, we're so grateful to Dr. Curtis L. Ivory, the Chancellor of Wayne County Community College District, for making Dr. Claude Anderson's visit to Detroit, his hometown, possible. We thank God for Dr. Anderson. We thank God for his latest book, which you can get next week, A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask, Dr. Claude Anderson. That joins his other great books, Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth. You ought to get all of them. Dirty Little Secrets, Dr. Claude Anderson. We thank you for being a part of our wake-up call this day. This is the day the Lord has made. We do rejoice and we're glad in it.
Well, thank you, Joe, for inviting me on. Remember one thing now, girl. You know what it is? That I'm still your only friend.
I love it. Dr. Claude Anderson, you said he's my only friend. Thank you, Dr. Claude Anderson.
Thank you, baby. I love you.
Love you back. God bless you. My best to your wife, Joanne. We're going to...
You have a pleasant day and a blessed day,
and
Joe.
you too, darling. This is the day the Lord has made. We rejoice, hallelujah, and we're glad in it. Have a wonderful day today. And remember, this is the World Day of Prayer. Take time to pray. Take time to honor the one who made us in his image and his likeness. Take time to give to somebody and to have something on your to-do list outside of you. Thank you, and God bless. Wake up, Detroit. Call.